July 25, 1972, Washington, D.C. Dawn cracks over a stunned nation. The Washington Star front page detonates like a bomb. U.S. doctors let blacks die of syphilis. Shockwaves rip through living rooms. Panic electrifies Capitol Hill corridors. Doctors clutch stethoscopes like crucifixes. Ordinary citizens reread, disbelieving. 40 years? How? Why? But the real story, the monstrous truth buried beneath the headlines. This was no accident. No bureaucratic blunder. This was cold, calculated science. A 40-year mission, meticulously planned, ruthlessly executed. Its target? Black human beings. Its laboratory? Rural Alabama. Its subjects? 600 black men. Deliberately infected. Systematically denied cure. Studied unto death. Lab rats in overalls. And it worked. Perfectly. First, let's rewind. October 1932. Macon County, Alabama. Cotton fields stretch under a punishing sun. Poverty is the air they breathe. Hope is a scarce commodity. Enter the white coats. U.S. Public Health Service doctors. Saviors, they seemed. Offering salvation wrapped in promises. Free health care? Unthinkable. Free hot meals? A miracle. Free burial insurance? A weight lifted from weary shoulders. 600 black men stepped forward. Desperate. Grateful. Trusting the badge, the stethoscope, the government seal. 399 carried a hidden killer, syphilis. 201 were clean. The control group. The contract? Simple. Help us understand your bad blood. But buried deep, a single line of poison ink, a death sentence disguised as procedure. Patients will not receive treatment. Not now. Not ever. The trap was sprung. The clock started ticking. They called it a diagnostic necessity. A spinal tap. A routine. The men called it the devil's needle. Agony shot through their spines like lightning. Held down. Ignored. What flowed back into the glass syringe wasn't medicine. Wasn't relief. It was pure, liquid data. Cerebrospinal fluid. A window into the destruction unfolding inside them. Year after year. Puncture after puncture. The PHS doctors, notebooks clutched like Bibles, meticulously charted the invasion. How the spirochetes chewed through arteries, ballooning aortas until they burst. How the infection seeped into brains, stealing reason, twisting minds. How it crumbled bones, leaving men twisted, blind, screaming into the void. They documented the descent. Coldly. Clinically. 10 years of watching men unravel. 10 years of harvesting agony. This was the baseline. The natural progression, untreated, unforgiven. 1943. The world changes. A miracle echoes across the globe. Penicillin. The silver bullet. Syphilis meets its executioner. A simple shot. Hope, tangible and cheap. Did the bells ring for the men in Macon County? Did the doctors rush with vials of cure? Think again. The Surgeon General's Office issued Order Number 5142. A direct command. Explicit. Unambiguous. Under no circumstances will subjects receive penicillin. Read it again. Let the ice water of it hit your veins. They had the cure. Right there. In their hands. Proven. Effective. Life-saving. And they locked it away. Deliberately. Systematically. Why? Because the experiment demanded it. Dead black bodies on autopsy slabs, organs laid bare, offered more scientific value than living, breathing black men walking free. A corpse was a completed data point. A cured man? A ruined study. The math of monsters. The killing entered its industrial phase. By 1955, the ledger of death was filling fast. 30% of the infected men were gone. Autopsy reports, typed with chilling detachment, told the tale their living bodies had screamed. Aortic rupture, massive cerebral hemorrhage, tertiary neurosyphilis, congenital syphilis in infant offspring. The evidence of their suffering was carved into official records. But bodies were disappearing. Families, grieving, buried their loved ones with dignity. This was a problem. For science, the PHS solution? Cold cash. They bribed local doctors and relatives. $50 per corpse. A king's ransom in Macon County. The deal? Intercept the bodies. Divert them from the grave to the government morgue. Not for burial rites. For dissection. Organs weighed. Tissues sliced. Brains pickled in jars. The U.S. government paid to turn human beings into laboratory specimens. And the families? Left in the dark. Told pneumonia took him. Or a sudden heart attack. Never knowing their husband, father, brother was laid out on a slab, his body mined for data, his humanity discarded with surgical gloves. Meet the government's most potent weapon. Nurse EUNICE Rivers, black, local, respected. Her smile disarmed suspicion. Her presence whispered safety in a world of white coats and betrayal. She was the face of the study, the trusted hand. She drove them to appointments, listened to their pains, offered sugar pills disguised as potent medicine, placebos, told them they were special patients. Government cared. She built the bridge of trust they walked across. Straight into the abyss. While she handed out empty promises, PHS Director Dr. John Heller put pen to paper. His memos dripped with casual, chilling racism. We're keeping the darkies dying on schedule. Think on that. The cruelest cut. Not just white hands orchestrating the death. Black hands, wielded by the state, delivering the poison. Nurse Rivers, trapped perhaps, complicit certainly, became the velvet glove over the iron fist. Her participation wasn't incidental. It was essential. The betrayal from within. And it worked. For 40 damn years. 1966, San Francisco. A nondescript office. Peter Buxton, a low-level venereal disease researcher, stumbles a file cabinet left ajar. A label catches his eye. Tuskegee curiosity flickers. He pulls the thick folder. Dust motes dance in the stale air. He reads page after page. The promises, the denials, the autopsies, the penicillin order, the corpse payments. The scale of it hits him like a physical blow. The calculated cruelty. The decades of lies. He staggers to a sink. He vomits. Pure, visceral horror. Then, a spark of defiance. He does the unthinkable. He leaks it to the press. The mighty New York Times. Surely they'll act? The response is a cold shower. Too explosive, legally risky, not verifiable enough. Doors slam. Phones go dead. For 6 long years, Buxton fights. A lone white man shouting into a void, begging the world to see the atrocity unfolding against black men. 6 years pass while the death toll climbed. 128 names crossed off the list. Gone. Forever. Finally. 1972. Desperation leads to the Washington Star. They run the story. The fuse is lit. The explosion is instantaneous. National. Global. 92% of Americans polled call it morally abhorrent, a medical atrocity. Congress scrambles, hearings gavelled, cameras flash. But in the eye of the storm, the Public Health Service stands firm. No tears, no remorse. Their defense? Blame the victims, coldly, officially. They were too ignorant, too poor, too superstitious to seek treatment elsewhere. The audacity takes the breath away. They created the trap, lied for decades, blocked the cure, paid for the bodies, and then pointed fingers at the men they murdered. Justice? A Senate investigation. A measly $10 million settlement years later for survivors and heirs. An apology? 25 years after the story broke. 1997, President Clinton stands in the East Room. 8 frail old men, the last survivors, sit before him. The United States government, he says, did something that was wrong. Deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. 8 men. Out of 600. Let that sink in. Deep. 40 years of torture inflicted by the United States government. Wrapped in a white lab coat. Branded as science. The last survivor, Ernest Hendon, died in 2004. But Tuskegee never died. It metastasized. It lives in the justified, searing distrust that burns through black communities. 15%. That's how many black Americans today deeply trust hospitals. Why? Because Tuskegee wasn't an aberration. It was a blueprint. A successful proof of concept. 2010. The U.S. government apologizes again. In Guatemala, between 1946 and 1948. Deliberately infected prisoners, soldiers, mental patients with syphilis and gonorrhea without consent. Human experiments, again. 2021 research shows black women in America die from pregnancy-related causes at 3 times the rate of white women. Disparities choke access to care. Implicit bias poisons interactions. The lesson screams from history when you reduce people to data points, when you strip them of humanity in the name of science or progress, death follows. It is not an accident, it is policy. Tuskegee wasn't a tragic mistake, it was a trial run. A 40-year experiment in dehumanization. And the chilling truth? The experiments never stopped. They just evolved. New forms, new targets, same deadly calculus. They had names: Fred Simmons, Herman Shaw, Charles Pollard, fathers, sons, farmers, preachers, veterans, humans. With dreams, with fears, with love burning in their chests. For 40 years, the United States Public Health Service treated them like specimens, pinned, labeled, observed, dissected. Their pain was data. Their deaths were deliverables. So if your blood is boiling right now, good. If your fists are clenched, hold on to that. If this feels like ancient history, look around, look closer. Tuskegee is not a closed chapter. It's a warning etched in blood and bone. It's a mirror reflecting the darkest potential of power unchecked, of racism institutionalized, of science corrupted. This isn't just about the past. It's about the systems humming right now. The biases coded into algorithms. The disparities etched into life expectancy charts. History isn't over. It's replaying on a loop. And the next video? We tear the lid off another American nightmare. The day the CIA stole a man's mind. Erased it because they could. Smash subscribe. Hit notification. This channel isn't just digging up graves. We're shining a light into the dark corners where power hides its crimes. We're sounding the alarm. See you in the next video. Stay angry, stay vigilant. The truth demands it.